Welcome to CIO Leadership Live Australia. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editorial Director for Foundry's Enterprise and Channel Brands in Australia and New Zealand. On today's episode, my guest is Alan Sharvin, who is the Chief Information Officer at Tabcorp. Welcome, Alan. Thanks for being with us today.
Hello, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Great to chat to you again, and look, really keen for you to take us back to the beginning. Can you tell us a bit about your career journey, I guess how you got your start in IT and some of your career milestones?
Sure. Right back to the beginning. I grew up in Ireland in the sort of backdrop of the north of Ireland and the Troubles, and I was probably going a different path in life, and I had a few life events that changed that and meant that I went back to school and went back to university a little bit later in life. And when I was looking for that entry course into university, there was a maths and computer science degree, and I was always very good at maths. So I thought I'll do this computer thing, get me through university, and then ditch it at the end for something else. But obviously, sort of reflecting back, that is something I fell in love with. My first role in technology and entry into this world was QA, and with that, I wasn't fully sure what that meant, a bit like the education lens. But when I got into it, I was really grateful that was my entry. It gave me great exposure into the sort of full gamut of product development. And I think for those that do well in QA and software testing, it's really about thinking outside the box and beyond boundaries. And I think that stood me really well throughout my career, those sort of foundational growth that was born in QA. I think from very early on, I was going a dual path in terms of a technical path, as well as I started to get into leadership a little bit, and I had to make a choice really early in my career. Was it going to be a technical path or a leadership path, like many of us have to do in technology? And obviously I chose the latter. And when I did choose that, it escalated pretty quickly in terms of leadership roles and the breadth of those. I begun in product development and then got broad exposure into other areas of technology like enterprise technology and data and corporate technology, and then into things like portfolio and ways of working and that sort of agile ways of working back in the day. And therefore, it gave me a really well-rounded breadth of experience. So that was great in terms of growth lens. And I think in terms of companies, I got really lucky to be working for market leaders in their sectors, companies like Reiss and Amazon and Sportsbet, who do things really well. There's a reason why they're number one. And I got to, be part of that and grow and learn in those environments where there was a lot of focus on customer and a lot of innovation. And sort of also to help round me out, I did spend some time in companies that maybe weren't as great. And it was about going from maybe average to good to great. So when I reflect, I feel really lucky to have that breadth and depth in both roles and companies I've been part of.
And that set you up really well to become CIO at Tabcorp. So for those listening who don't know about the organization, can you give us a bit of an overview of its purpose and what you and your team look after there?
Yeah, Tabcorp is an Australian company made up of 3 brands, and that's across wagering, gaming, and media. So quite a broad and diverse landscape. The most well-known of those brands is the Tab brand, so an iconic Australian brand that we've got sort of around 800,000 customers across 4,000 plus venues, so a really big footprint in Australia, and most people will be familiar with seeing that brand. And it's an omnipresence in terms of digital and retail and a media landscape, which is quite exciting to be part of. We're really focused on raising the game and building great, engaging betting and entertainment experiences, and bringing that excitement and delivering that excitement in a safe way. So for me and the team, we look at everything from top to bottom of that, and in terms of support and enablement and delivery of and helping the business grow and through its period of transformation.
So tell us then a bit about some of the achievements of the team in recent years. I mean, how is that digitalization journey tracking? You mentioned there that you've got a real focus on customer engagement and safety. So tell us a bit about some of the things that you've been working on in recent years.
It's been a huge few years, really has. I often would talk about a week in Tabcorp as like a month in some other companies, just the amount of things we are doing. In June 2022, we separated from the Lottery Corporation, and that was really a catalyst moment for Tabcorp in terms of a new direction, new strategy, new era, new Tabcorp, and really entered into this phase of transformation. And I'm really conscious that the word transformation has connotations, but I believe and know that we are really living that transformation. If you look up the definition of transformation, it's about change in state. And in the last 2 years, we've certainly are living up to that change in state. Reflecting on the journey, one of the first slides I actually showed to the senior leadership team and the board was a quote from Larry Page, the founder of Google, and it was that we're here for revolutionary change, not incremental change. And I think that was our mindset from the outset, and we've delivered on that. So a couple of examples over the last couple of years is we put a lot of focus on our product and delivery and digital capability, knowing that competitors had got quite a way in front, and we had quite a gap to close. So that was important that we put our focus there in terms of our ways of working and our technology, and we really dialed that up into sort of like 10 times the improvement in velocity. It's been really the whole landscape we've looked at. We've looked at simplifying and modernizing the landscape. The number of applications we've had has significantly reduced. The number of applications in the cloud has significantly increased. And we've developed our innovation arm, so really building muscles around rapid experimentation, whilst growing engagement, incrementally improving our engagement, and significantly reducing cost. So it's there's been a lot happened in the last 2 years, but we've much left to do, but on the right trajectory.
So just broadening that out, I guess, a bit further, how do you ensure that when you're putting in that strategy for the organization, and especially given there's 3 different businesses within the organization, how do you ensure, what you're working on, the IT initiatives that you're lining up, that they align with those overall strategic goals of the wider organization?
One thing I refer to and talk about a lot around Tabcorp and broader is that technology is the business. So we are infused with the whole business and all of those individual businesses. We and that's how we think. There isn't large degrees of separation, that we're deeply connected and tightly coupled. So as the strategy is forming and the plans to deliver on that, we're infused in that, and that's how we think. But naturally, there is some things that need to be sequenced. So, for example, I talked a little bit earlier about our initial focus on our product gaps. So we really focused our technology plan to deliver on that, and introducing new technology, which was sort of Google Flutter in our app and some of our channels, our change to product over project ways of working, and all the dimensions around that. We really focused our tech plan to ensure that we were enabling that part of the strategy for the business, and in doing so, building trust and a seat at the table in the organization, and really developing from being a partner to being part of the business to being a +1. And for us in technology, we really aspire to be that +1, where we're bringing ideas to the table and we're innovating and creating value for the business. But it begun with that focus. and then it continues to be in lockstep as the strategy evolves.
Now, there's not a day that goes by without AI being mentioned. So keen to understand, I guess, your view on new, even though AI isn't that new, but new and emerging technologies. I mean, is this something that you're looking at implementing at Tabcorp, or do you have any of these already in place? Where's your stance on that?
Yeah, AI is in the sort of common vocabulary here as well. We have looked at and are looking at a sort of broad range of emerging and evolving technologies. And I think AI has obviously been prevalent, and although there's been some great new technology in recent times, some of it has been sort of nice talking points or nice to play with, or a little bit, a few use cases. Whereas AI, I think we all realize, how much of practical innovation that can bring. So for us, we've been gathering momentum around it. We've been moving from a few use cases into sort of deeper enterprise thinking around AI, and that's sort of been very exciting, and we've connected with great partners and building that out. And that's been, from some of our engineering processes, some of our customer experiences, and some of the work we are doing with safer gambling. So that's been exciting. There's been many other technologies in the mix. We've been looking at things like AR and VR in the past, and we've had a recent hackathon where we were playing around with some of these technologies and having a lot of fun there. But I mentioned a little bit earlier about our rapid experimentation focus, and that gives us the vehicle to try and test these technologies in the real sense with real customers. So that's from a big I innovation and new technology, but we've been also looking at small I innovation in terms of the technologies we have and exist to really improve how we work and how we think and how we are building experiences for customers.
And while there's always excitement around new technology and the innovative stuff, there is, of course, the maintenance of your existing IT stack and legacy tech. So talk us through your approach to that. How do you balance looking at the next thing coming down the line that will make an impact on the business with that importance of your existing IT stack?
Yeah, it is a balance and a little bit of a dance, and sometimes that needs to bias one way or the other, but really good looks like a good balance. And for us, we've been thinking about we've been moving much more towards a product model, and I think what that brings is much more of a long-lived sense as opposed to a project model. And that has also meant more care for the whole of the product, and it's not just about building features or initiatives, but also the tech debt and the maintenance that goes into make a great product, and all of those things that make a great experience for customers. It's the features, but also the health and the uptime and the performance and everything else that goes into love and building great products. We have quite a lot of or inherited quite a lot of legacy. So we've been putting a lot of focus in our tech plan in terms of the modernization of that, and some of it is about maintenance and keeping the lights on. So we have quite a lot of investment, and I feel a decent balance in that. But ultimately, I think it comes down to your ability to articulate the value and that return on investment, and where should you focus the dollars, time, and attention. It sort of helps articulate how much that balance goes one way or the other.
Indeed. Now, look, Alan, every year cybersecurity comes up in our State of the CIO survey as one of the top concerns of CIOs globally. So what's your approach to cybersecurity? I know you've got a lot of data in your systems. How do you ensure that it remains secure and private?
Yeah, it's a big focus, for everybody else. It's a huge focus for us. I think there's a natural and healthy tension and paranoia about the space that keeps us continually focused and striving to do more in this world. for us, we've got quite a risk-based lens. So we've got a lot of context of what's happening in the threat landscape, both in Australia and globally. Obviously, a lot of awareness of our current posture and areas that we need to focus on, and leveraging technology in terms of emerging tools and great tools out there that help protect us. And we talked a little bit about AI and the prevalence of how good that is, but it's also used by, for bad as well as for good. And, we're trying to leverage that in our cyber and security space to help protect us. And ultimately, I think core to all of that is a great security culture, so that mindset throughout the organization that we're certainly evangelizing and focusing on.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a number of partners helping you in some of your AI experiments, but overall, I guess, what is a good partnership from your point of view? What do you look for when you're going out to market and selecting a partner or a provider? What's important to you?
I think for me, a great partner is someone when we come together, we're better together. So, that 1 + 1 = 3. And a great partner will be much more than a transaction, much more than a statement of work. They're thinking about, us and thinking about our needs, our opportunities, our challenges, and sort of going above and beyond to help us succeed. And, a great example, if I may, a recent example that we've had with one of our partners that I think really illustrates and brings this to life is that we've got one of our partners in our development and engineering space, and we closed down over the Christmas period, and they continued to work unbeknownst to us. They continued to work through that period, and they worked on a number of things. They actually worked on 10 items, and it was a combination of challenges that they knew we had or issues we had, as well as some innovation work. So they built, our app on the Apple Watch and different things like that. So when we returned, they presented back, and we were, surprised and delighted to see what they had done, but also, the fact that they had done that, they'd thought about us, and it wasn't about $1. In fact, it was quite the opposite. They were paying it forward and thinking about how do they help us. And obviously, a great partnership will also have strong trust and collaboration and communication, because there is often, as well as good times, trying times. And if that's at the core, then you can pretty much work through anything. Like relationships and partnerships in life, I think that sort of stands true to technology partners and relationships.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more on that. So switching gears a bit, Alan, tell us about your leadership style. How would you describe yourself as a leader?
In terms of that question, I often think that sometimes that'll be better asked to my leaders or the leaders that I've led in the past or teams I've led in the past, and to give that unbiased view, but maybe I'll give you a little bit of my biased view. I strive to create an environment where our teams can do their best work, where they can have fun and really thrive. And to do that, I think it's about creating an environment that has characteristics like psychological safety. And I think we know how important that is in the research Google and others have done about the correlation to high performance, where people can be themselves and speak up and have that safety net of failure when you're pushing some boundaries. Diversion and inclusion is super important to me, and that people can be their best selves. And I believe that I'm focused on development of our people, and mentorship and coaching is important aspect to me. But early in my career, I was gifted a book, Good to Great. And for those that don't know, Good to Great really looks at some of the most successful companies in history and some of the most successful leaders that led those companies. And there was sort of two things common traits that made up those leaders. And it was about humility, and it was about this unwavering resolve or fortitude or drive. And that was quite a seminal moment for me early in my career. That that's the kind of leader I was striving to be, and had aspirations to be. That balance of humility and unwavering resolve. And I drive hard for performance and results, but I like to think of really bring that humility lens as well.
So you spoke about the importance of psychological safety to creating an environment that helps people thrive. Is there anything else you think needs to be done to create that environment to really help people?
Yeah, Tabcorp over the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of work to build a great environment, to grow our culture and engagement and incrementally. And a large part of that is about feedback. So, listening and hearing and taking on that feedback and taking action around that. We've also formed, a lot of focus groups, and we've got an engagement cross-functional group. It's called Uplift You, that's got maybe 30, 40 people across technology that are passionate and focused on helping evolve and creating a great environment. And out of that, there's come a lot of practical initiatives like, improved career pathways, learning and development, women in tech, big tech lunch and learns. The list goes on. And they've been great to help improve, some of those aspects. But ultimately, I think one of the biggest forces in building a great environment and great culture is by doing the right thing in technology. And what I mean by that is, if we are working in a modern, contemporary way that's building great products that are close to the customer, that it's experimenting, then that will have this great halo effect. As technologists, a lot of our purpose is to build great products that customers love. So if you focus on doing that, then naturally, it'll be a great place to be.
So tell us then about your thoughts on getting more minds of all kinds into technology. You mentioned Tabcorp has a Women in Technology program. What else do you think, what practical things can be done to make IT as attractive as possible to different communities and different types of thinking?
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a bit over recent times. And when I think of technology and the breadth and depth of roles and opportunities and skills and experience needed, I think there's so much opportunity to tell that story better. I'm not sure we do it so well. Like when you think of the types of roles, it goes from deeper technical engineering and architecture right through to more delivery or portfolio or business analysis. So that there's a really good broad mix of things that people can do, and sharing those stories and the stories of what technology is doing. Technology is literally changing the world, and sort of evangelizing that is quite exciting. And that doesn't need to be a massive one-off thing. It can start with a movement, and the stories we tell and in LinkedIn and in barbecues with friends is all opportunities to do that. Each and every one of us can do that. Another avenue is obviously young people coming into the workforce and earlier in their careers. And as a father of 7, I often have conversations with my kids about what they want to do or what they want to do when they grow up. And I think there's a lot of opportunity both at home and in schools to help share the goodness that is technology. And we do a little bit in certain geographies of the world, but I think that's another opportunity to expand further, is do a lot more there. So much to be done, but we can all take that call to action and start today.
So cybersecurity is a challenge for all CIOs. getting different types of minds into IT is a challenge. What are some of the other big challenges you think facing CIOs in Australia in 2024? And is there anything in particular for the gaming and entertainment sector that might differ, or same challenges regardless?
I think one big challenge that's probably common is cost. So, we've got a toughening sort of economic landscape, and the market is challenging in sort of gaming and wagering over recent times. So cost has become quite a key lens and a challenge for many corporates in Australia. But my perspective on cost is that there is a lot of opportunity. It's that flicking the challenge to an opportunity lens to it. Cost optimization can be a driver of innovation as well. When I was at Amazon, one of the key leadership principles was frugality, and the thinking and sentiment behind that is it can drive invention. So when you have less, you think outside the box, around boundaries, and how to do things differently. And that's sort of stayed true to me and how I think about that challenge. Also, when you're doing things the right way in terms of modern contemporary ways of working, leveraging automation, leveraging AI, and leveraging, progressive ways of working, then naturally you can optimize costs. So if you do all of those things the right way, then you will save cost, as opposed to you just need to cut cost. So I think there's an opportunity to flip the cost challenge and really think of it from that sort of growth mindset. And over the last couple of years, we've certainly demonstrated that you can deliver faster, more for a lot less.
And is there any advice that you'd give to someone who was aspiring to be a chief information officer or be in a senior IT leadership role?
Yeah, I think it's a great career path, a great aspiration. And obviously I talked a little bit about today from going from, QA to CIO and my journey. And some of the threads and themes of my career has been about getting that broad experience, the value and experience across an eclectic amount of roles and companies that helped have that broad CIO lens. I think working hard is a steel thread throughout many careers and mine. And one of the quotes that stood out for me from Jeff Bezos actually is work hard, have fun, and make history. And I have it's a bit of a mantra for me in my career, and I've thought about in all the roles is how do I do that. And actually, when I drop my kids off to school every morning, or in the mornings I say that to them, and they're embarrassed, but I say work hard, have fun, and make history. And if you're doing that, then you're in a good place.
It's a great mantra. I love that. So finally, tell us about what's important to you in the months ahead. Is there any other exciting initiatives in the pipeline for you and the team at Tabcorp?
There are so many. It's an exciting few months ahead. So we've got a big focus on data and personalization. We've been getting great momentum there, but we're going to see more great things happen in the next couple of months. Mentioned omni-channel a little bit, so our focus and Crosshairs is going towards that, and we're going to see more exciting innovation. We're doing a lot of experimentation in that space, and some of our core platforms we are transitioning. Some of our core platforms that have been around for decades, and we're done on a bit of a new area in some of that space, so that's very exciting. And of course, we have Spring Racing Carnival coming up, so everybody will be familiar with Melbourne Cup, and for us it's such an exciting time where there's this balance, I think, for us technologists in the space of excitement and anxiety as we see load levels go through the roof, and it's such an exciting time and to be part of. And I compare a little bit of Melbourne Cup Eve to Christmas Eve as we get super excited about the day ahead.
Well, I'll be thinking of you and the team when I'm placing my bets on Melbourne Cup Day. Alan Sharvin, Chief Information Officer at Tabcorp, thank you so much for your time today.